All right, gather around D-Class personnel. We got a tale to tell. Now, I know you're used to being guinea pigs, but let me just say this one takes the cake. Picture this. We had the shiny new SCP, a real beauty, had the potential to solve the energy crisis, they said. So naturally, we thought, let's stick some unsuspecting D-Class in there. What could possibly go wrong? Well, let me tell you, things went wrong faster than a cat on fire. We had this ingenious device that was supposed to harness the power of, wait for it, the complete absence of anything. Yes, we were harnessing nothingness, or so we thought, but as luck would have it, this nothing was one tricky son of a gun. We had our D-Class subject go in, everything seemed fine at first, but then out of nowhere, reality itself starts getting a bit fuzzy. You know, seeing things that aren't there, hearing voices in your head. Usual Tuesday around here, but that wasn't the worst part. No, this poor guy's body started withering away like some pathetic cosmic prune. Turned out our nothing was a hungry beast devouring matter faster than a swarm of locusts at an all-you-can-eat buffet. By the time we managed to shut it down, all we had left was a pair of floating eyeballs and a rather impressive hat. Yeah, my condolences to the family, whatever, but let me tell you, that hat alone may just power a small city in the future. I'm gonna hold on to it. Every cloud has a silver lining, I guess they say. So here's the deal, my fine D-Class comrades. We're going to need some volunteers for the next round. Who's feeling lucky? Remember, it's all in the name of science, progress, and maybe a colorful hat in the process, even though said hat may be created from your rearranged, liquefied, and gently baked organs. It's no big deal. I'm sure your chances are fine. I mean, based on the information that the eggheads are giving me, there's only a 97.8% mortality rate. A sign-up sheet will be right outside for anybody who wants to etch their names into the history books, get a couple hours knocked off your sentence, as well as net a cool $10. So what we're looking at today is SCP-2431, Object Class Safe. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-2431 is to be kept in a standard cell incubator within Site 234 at 37 degrees Celsius when not in use. Interactions with the anomaly should take place in a sealed, sterile tissue culture hood under normal BSL-2 conditions. Now, research personnel should avoid direct physical contact with SCP-2431. Excess SCP-2431 should be disposed of using advanced Prion sterilization techniques. Description: SCP-2431 is a misfolded cellular protein, ATP synthase, which forms large, oily, and viscous clumps. Each instance of SCP-2431 is capable of spontaneous replication, regardless of whether or not correctly folded ATP synthase variants are present, and will produce new misfolded proteins every 30 minutes. Upon reaching 78 grams in mass, clumps will split into 15 new aggregates, and the process begins again. SCP-2431 masses refold into shapes that have been encountered in their environment, primarily through physical contact. However, they are also capable of rudimentary visual observation. Random folding occurs by the aggregate reaccumulating into a single large clump before flattening out and then refolding. X-ray crystallography of single SCP-2431 manifestations has pinpointed several anomalous structural additions that may be involved in this process. This is in Addendum 1. When a conglomerate of SCP-2431 refolds into a new shape, it'll begin exhibiting characteristics of the item that it's imitating. Subsequently, when exposed to images or origami constructs, aggregates will refold to emulate the presented item. This is in Experiment Log E-2431-01. Conglomerates exhibit a rudimentary form of shared sapience, often refolding into items or shapes as a means of communication. SCP-2431 aggregates are capable of complex emotional expression and recognition through the use of specific shapes and forms, making them roughly equivalent in intelligence to a small child. In some cases, SCP-2431 may develop an emotional attachment to research personnel that interact with them regularly. Instances use observation of the personnel they become attached to express this attachment by refolding into constructs that will elicit a positive response. SCP-2431 was first encountered outside of SCP-2378 by Foundation exploration teams. Addendum 1, Molecular and Biochemical Structural Composition. The following section is composed of the condensed and summarized results of all experiments with SCP-2431. All aggregates exposed to images were measured to be at a mass of 78 grams. Experiment 1, date March 3rd, 2013. Researcher, Research Assistant Bates. Photograph, Origami Construct 1, SCP-1762-2 instance. Number of aggregates, 2. Result. Aggregates split into 30 new instances and began the refolding process. Upon completion, instances had refolded into origami dragons of varying size and color. Instances began flying around the tissue culture hood, emitting auditory calls commonly associated with mythical dragons and emitting small sparks of light. Experiment 3, April 15th, 2013. Researcher, Research Assistant Bates. Photograph / origami construct. An origami figure of Momotaro. What the fuck is a Momotaro? You guys really got to let me practice this stuff before I start. Number of aggregates, 2. Yeah, a couple of you nerds know. All right, whatever. Result, masses split into 30 new instances. Aggregates refold into a variety of characters depicted in the stories of Momotaro. Refolded instances engage in a reenactment of the legend as written in a recently published children's book. Sounds about right. Experiment 5, date May 5th, 2013. Researcher, Research Assistant Bates. Photograph, origami constructs of a boy and a tiger. Number of aggregates, 5. Result, clump split into 75 new instances. Instances refold into the shapes of the given boy and tiger and begin to reenact various scenes from the Calvin and Hobbes comic strip series in Japanese. So I don't know what Momotaro is, but show of hands who knows what Calvin and Hobbes is. None of you dumbasses knows. All right, prior to Experiment 6, Research Assistant Bates observed several SCP-2431 instances refold as he was opening the incubator. Several conglomerates refolded into an imitation of Bates's wife. Bates elicited a positive response of joy. Several more conglomerates responded by refolding into imitations of his children. Experiment 6, date June 3rd, 2013. Researcher, Bates. Photograph, origami construct, pages from a children's story regarding a sick girl and the legend of 1,000 paper cranes inside the hood. Number of aggregates, 3. Result, conglomerate split into 45 new instances. 42 instances refold into a shape similar to that of a crane and begin to emit vocalizations and movements similar to that of a crane. The remaining 3 instances refold into numbers, reading 9, 5, and 8. Following Experiment 6, Research Assistant Bates moved to put the predetermined number of conglomerates back into the storage incubator. As he was doing so, several SCP-2431 instances which had not been removed from the incubator refolded into imitations of medical equipment and medication, specifically syringes, scalpels, and pills. Experiment 7, date July 5th, 2013. Researcher, Bates. Photograph / origami construct, one origami iteration of a Boeing B-17 bomber. Number of aggregates, 20. Result, aggregates split into 300 new instances, 150 of which refold into extremely detailed recreations of B-17s. Instances proceed to travel along the length of the tissue culture hood and ascend into the air, flying in formation reminiscent of American air raids in the European theater of World War II. Instances are observed dropping small folded constructs similar to bombs, which shatter into tiny protein fragments on contact with the surface of the tissue culture hood. 147 instances refold into the shape of a crane, as seen in the previous experiment. The remaining 3 instances refold into numbers reading 8, 1, and 1. Over the next 4 months, an increasing number of SCP-2431 instances refused to refold into any shape other than that of a crane. Experiment 15, date November 7th, 2013. Research Assistant Bates is the researcher again. Photograph / origami construct, a photograph of Notre Dame de Paris. Number of aggregates, 10. Result, aggregate split into 150 new instances. 147 instances refold as demonstrated previously into a shape similar to that of a crane. The remaining 3 instances refold into the numbers 0, 0, and 0. Further attempts at testing with SCP-2431 following Experiment 15 have resulted in aggregate instances refolding into either human shapes resembling the Japanese deity Fukurokuju or the kanji characters that I'll pass around if any of you can decipher this. As of 12/5/2013, testing is suspended until further notice. Now, the following is an up-to-date profile of Aiko Adachi, maintained by an undercover Foundation physician from MTF Chi 7, The Plague Tamers. POI, Aiko Adachi, age 43, weight 68 kilograms, occupation, children's writer, Japanese mythology. Recently written works, Momotaro, A Tale of Growing. Sadako Sasaki, A Tale of a Girl and 1,000 Paper Cranes, a Japanese adaptation of the famous comic strip, Calvin and Hobbes. Marital status, married. Children and ages 2, 3, and 5 years old. Reason for observation, formerly linked to SCP-2378, believed to be connected to SCP-2431. Initial report, Mr. Adachi was first connected to SCP-2378 on 9/3/2012 via DNA sequencing. Due to Mr. Adachi's status as a children's author, Foundation Observation Unit screened his works closely for the emergence of any mimetic anomalies. Despite this screening, Mr. Adachi displayed no anomalous properties or connections other than his connection to 2378. On January 3, 2013, Mr. Aiko Adachi was diagnosed with Creutzfeldt-Jacobs disease shortly before 2378 was due to undergo a transition event. SCP-2431 was discovered approximately 2 weeks prior to this diagnosis, and despite genetic flags to Mr. Adachi's genetic predisposition to CJD, no link was made between him and SCP-2431. He continued work on several publications in the months following his diagnosis. Despite continued care and observation, his condition has significantly declined over the past 5 months. He was officially hospitalized on August 6, 2013, when a fall resulted in a fractured hip. Since then, he has been bedridden due to decreased motor function, increased memory loss, and overwhelming dementia. Current status, 11/15/2013. Mr. Adachi is in the late stages of Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. He began experiencing several grand mal seizures over the past couple days. He's also currently being kept on a respirator due to increasingly weak lung function and is no longer capable of moving on his own. His daughters and wife come by every day during visitation hours. The wife brings some of the books he's written and reads to him and the children every day. The children bring drawings and toys, sometimes flowers or chocolates. Update. November 20th, 2013. Mr. Adachi has developed a fever and racking coughs. We believe it's pneumonia. Update. 11/21/2013. Tests came back positive. Streptococcus pneumoniae. We've put him on antibiotics. Update. 11/30/2013. Mr. Adachi has responded positively to the antibiotics. Chest inflammation has almost completely settled, though his dementia remains severe. Update. 12/5/2013. Pneumonia is back. We're trying antibiotics again. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was the last we had on it. SCP-2431, dismissed.